So here we are for the Dutch Clojure Meetup 134. So that's 134 consecutive months of Clojure meetups in the Netherlands and recently uh, on the interwebs. So tonight we do have Eric Dallo with us, who is gonna guide us through Clojure LSP. I don't want to invest too much words on describing it because I'm gonna just look stupid, given that he is probably behind most of the code of that project, so he knows what it is and how to explain it much better than I do. So I'm just gonna give the stage to Eric, and please.
Thanks, Carlo. Hello, everyone. So my name is Eric. I work here at Nubank in Brazil. So sorry for my bad English in advance. Um, so let's start. I will share my screen so we can follow. Okay, all right. So let's start with. Are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So let's start with what is a LSP, right? So Microsoft is the owner of LSP. Actually, it's an open source project, so this is really cool. Um Microsoft created the LSP. LSP stands for Language Server Protocol. That is a way that Microsoft found to create some kind of standard on how multiple editors or IDEs could um, interact with multiple languages. So imagine Microsoft created the VS Code. We have Emacs, we have Vim, and a lot of other editors. And Ritorike created the Clojure Lang. So imagine that every editor will need to implement the features for working with Clojure for Clojure development. So uh, the highlighting this, the find definitions, the find reference, all features you can imagine will need to be implemented again for every editor. So ISP is something that fix it. So we have two kinds of um, it's divided in two parts. So that is the LSP server and the LSP client. Today I'll talk about the Clojure LSP. That is an open source project that it's the server for Clojure. Um, the LSP is just a specification from Microsoft side. So there is this huge documentation with a lot of examples and how LSP should behave, the client and the server. I already read that a few times, but for you, you don't need to know what is this. Just know that that exists. So uh, Clojure SP is the server side for Clojure. This is the web page we have. It's on GitHub, Clojure SP/Clojure SP. So how this works? Uh, ISP works sending and receiving JSON. So imagine I have the Emacs client. You need some kind of client that knows ISP. We have the LSP mode that is a specific package, one of the biggest packages of the Macs that knows how to handle SP requests and response. And you need to install the LSP for your language, in this case, Clojure. So the first thing you need to do is install Clojure SP. You can check the documentation. If you find anything that should be not here or is missing, please let us know. So the installation could be done in many ways. We have a native binary that is compiled with GraalVM. Thanks, Barkdude, for helping on that. You can manually download from the GitHub release, or you can use a script that is installed as ClojureSP, a bash script. That's the recommended way because with GraalVM native binaries, we have faster startup and better memory management, CPU management. So this helps a lot for the server. There is other ways too. The embedded jar, that is a legacy executable. It's just a jar inside a file where you can just change its permission and run. And there is other ways installing for Nix users. I'm a Nix user, so the, this is kind of important to me. Um, Windows with Scoop, and we have plans to add the support for Homebrew too next weeks, I hope. So after installed, you will have a ClojureSP binary to run. So you need to set up your IDE. So let's see the clients. And here we can find some basic explanation on how to install the LSP client for your editor. Today in this talk I will use Emacs, but there are a lot of editors that already use ClojureSP and work. For example, Calva. Calva is the LSP client and the REPL client. There are a lot of features on Calva, but it uses ClojureSP under the hood. So this works for VS Code. And for Emacs, we have LSP mode, as I said. So there is this basic config here. But I suggest you take a look on the LSP mode documentation. It's another huge project with a lot of information. So the first time you install it will look like scary with a lot of info on your screen. So uh, there is a tutorial sections where you can find some tutorials, and we have one about Clojure. This should help you too if you are starting with Clojure. It's just describe how to configure Emacs using ClojureSP, and why should I try LSP? Explaining that uh, most of the Emacs users that work with Clojure have the REPL running, or using a REPL or using Cider to start a REPL, and there are a lot of people that ask me, so I already have my REPL, why should I try LSP, right? So those things are different things. And the REPL is something that uses your environment, your functions, defined functions from dependence, and ClojureSP uses static analysis. So it's kind of like CLJ Condo, but with a lot of features. ClojureSP uses CLJ Condo under the hood, so this is something cool too. So the truth is that you can use both together. I use Cider with ClojureSP for a while, and it works really nice. There is some clash of key bindings and shortcuts. So in this tutorial, I try to make that clear, how to avoid that, and present to you some features from ClojureSP that I'll try to show right now. So cool. I configured a sample project here. So let's start with the sample project. It's a sample project that bring the trending projects and repositories from GitHub. So when I start ClojureSP, when I open my buffer, you can see that some things show to me, like the header line you can see here. It's something from LSP mode. You can disable most every features from LSP mode. This is something that we really cared. So most of the features will have some flag to disable, like LSP dash header line dash enable, something like that. So if you don't like some feature that LSP mode installed for you, probably it should has some way to disable. All right, so ClojureLSP started in my buffer, and you can see some cool features like hover, where I'm hovering over a symbol and showing me all the reference. Code lanes that show me all the reference of this function. So let's try to show each of them. Let's go to the features. So this is the page where I show all the documentation of the ClojureLSP. So if you find something that is missing, please let me know. So the first feature LSP should provide, actually is a must. It's the finding function or finding a var. So imagine you have a function. I'm hovering over a function, and I want to know what is the definition. I can try to run LSP find definition. Again, this are all commands from LSP client or LSP mode in this case. So every editor may have your different way to call these functions. So LSP mode, there is a lot of LSP dash commands where you can try. So let's try LSP find the definition. Right, it's really fast and it works. So this works for functions, variables, and recently we added features for keywords. So this is really nice, and I think that is there are other editors like Cursivy for IntelliJ doesn't have this feature. This is really cool. Find definition. All right, let's go to the next. Find your references. This is really useful. So imagine I want to know all the reference for fetch items. So I can just call LSP find a reference, and this will bring one reference. All right, let's try something cooler. Let's go to the other namespace, fetching trained developers. So imagining I want to find your reference here. So LSP find reference, and this will bring me the other buffer that has this reference. Um, extensions for there is LSP UI, LSP Max. These are extensions that make Emacs better or with a better UX. So when I call LSP UI, that is another package for Emacs. LSP UI find the oh no, it's reference. I'm not sure. I have the combined so I can show you. So this will prompt to me. It's like a UI that VS Code has that show me the reference and a kind of preview on the other side. This could be useful for some users, but intrusive for others. So you can choose what you want to use. All right. Next feature is this is show all workspace symbols. So sincerely, I don't use that much, but it's kind of useful. So you can just LSP workspace. What's the command? Oh, LSP Ivy. It uses Ivy under the hood. So LSP Ivy workspace symbol, and we showed all the symbols available on that workspace. This could be huge, so not sure if it's useful, but this is part from the LSP protocol, so we need to implement it too. This is more useful. It's the show of symbols of my current document. So we have LSP, 3max, like I said, is another extension, symbols. It will open to me a tree with all the symbols from this workspace. So let's try in another workspace. LSP 3max symbols, and will show me all the symbols, functions, and variables from this workspace. All right, cool. The next one is really useful. It's the rename symbols. This is something really helpful from IDE. So imagine I want to rename this function that have that has two references, and I want to rename the definition and change it on all reference, or rename the reference and change the definition. It works too. So I want to change here fetching trending repos to repositories. And all right, I can see it was changing too, so it's really fast. Let's rename back. Okay. This works for keywords too. So again, this is really useful for ClojureScript applications. So that's it. That is hover too. It's missing a GIF. I need to record it. So hover, like the name say, it's when you hover over a symbol, it show the highlight. Actually, those highlighted symbols are from another SP method, but uh, the hover calls it. So when you hover, you can show the all the references, and you can see that I can call a specific command to check the signature of this function and the documentation. So let's try, not sure, with this other lib, where I can show all the documentation and its location. So it's really useful. By the way, this is LSP describe thing at point. So that's it. Next one is code actions. This is my favorite feature of whole SP. So code actions are, like the name says, it's actions that change your code somehow. So imagine you want to refactor some code, and this is really common in your language. So probably there should be a code action for that. So let's try how the code actions work, right? So when you hover over a symbol, LSP mode already requests to the server what all the code actions available for this line. So if I try to LSP execute code action, it will prompt me. It will prompt me. Sorry, with all the available code actions that I can run. So this should change for other lines. So let's try, for example, the first one is clean namespace. It's really useful. So we can see here we have unused requires reported by CLJ Condo. You can see that we have this message here. So like I said, ClojureSP uses CLJ Condo under the hood for most features. So I can just execute, oops, sorry. Let's just LSP execute code action. Oh, I forgot to say that it executes the code action if there is one available. So imagine I'm here and there are other code actions available. So I just it's prompting to me to find what is the code action I want to run. So I can clean namespace, and each can so you can see that it fixes remove the unused code actions. It fixes indentation. You can configure it to some other kinds of datation. So it's really useful. Um, all right. Next one is inline symbol. So imagine I'm hovering over the symbol and I want to inline it. So remove this reference, this variable, and place its value here and in other reference. So I can execute code action and call inline symbol. There's a lot of shortcuts, so I use this inline symbol, and that's it. It replace all the reference with the raw value. All right. Um, Next one is extract function. This is useful too. So imagine I want to move this piece of code to its own function, so I can call extract function, a code action, and voila, we have another function with a dummy uh, name. So we can after rename it to, don't know, make some food, and we have the function separate. It needs to fix the indentation. And you can see ClojureSP knows that this map requires other variables, so it moves it adds the arguments necessary for this function, and that's it. Let me just go back that. Um, Next one is adding missing required. There are a lot of adding missing code actions. They are really useful, so and kind of magic too. So imagine I'm here and I want to use string slash not sure join and another arg. So CLJ Condo reports to me that we have a resolved namespace, um, and if we try to execute a code action, we can see in here that we have the adding missing closure string required. So if I use that code action, you can see that the namespace was required and everything works. So there are a lot of ways to do that. So closure dot string is a common namespace, so that's why ClojureSP knows how to require it. Also, we have set for closure set. We have IO for Java IO. But what about namespaces like, let me try, I think I have another GitLab API here. Not sure if it's required. No, it's not required. So when I try GitLab API or something like that, ClojureSP doesn't know how to build that because, or to require that because it was never required. So there is no way he can it can find the correct alias, or there is other ways we can input the full namespace here, and then ClojureSP will find the correct reference. So it will suggest to require that namespace and use the last part of the namespace as the alias. Then you can just rename it for whatever you want, and voila, we have a auto-required namespace. Um, this also works for some Java imports. This is kind of experimental, but we can import some common Java packages like date, Java util. So this is really useful. Let's go back. I can show you removing that namespace, and then it reports me the unused namespace, so I can clean the namespace and everything is ready. Let's go to next one. We have another move to let. This is really useful when you uh, want to move some form to the let binding. This is really cool. Change collection. So imagine I'm in some kind of, for example, this map, and I want to rename it to vector, or I want to change it, the collection to vector or set, and this works. So could be useful. Um, all right, so those are the code actions. They are really useful. Next one is code lanes. So these are the code lanes that I'm talking about. So ClojureSP only use code lanes for reference at the moment, but I have some ideas to use that for running Clojure tests or something like that. But are just ideas for the future. um, the code lanes are reference code lanes. So if we go to this function, we can see that there are two references. If I try to find the reference, there are indeed two references. You can disable that too. Some users don't like it, so you can use LSP lens mode or the LSP lens enable variable too. So you can see there are a lot of ways to disable the features from LSP. We have to format the buffer. So ClojureSP use CLJ FMT to format the buffer, so you can have all the configuration you want for format. This is something I didn't show you yet. So there is some ways where you can configure the LSP settings. You can configure it via project view, so you can have a LSP folder with a config hidden file, or you can have some common configuration in your home with LSP config hidden. And as you can see, I have a lot of custom configuration for uh, format. For example, here are all the indents I have. So like as you can see, I have other configurations like use a metadata for privacy instead of add dash in front of the function. Keep required start, and a lot of configurations you can find on the settings. Where is the settings section here? So here we have all the configurations, so you can take your moment to check this. All right, so let's go back to the features. What else we have? Semantic tokens. This is something really new to LSP protocol. So what is semantic tokens? They are some way Microsoft found to add to the LSP how a token should behave. I mean, this is a function, so it should color that with green. This is a keyword, so it should be the cyan color. And so the server needs to return that this is a keyword, not the color, but a keyword. So the client will use the correct color based on its theme. At the moment, ClojureSP just have this on macros, but disable by default. So to enable, you need to set semantic tokens true in your config. All right, so next one is call hierarchy. This is a really good function that I used to use on Eclipse for Java. So this is new, also in the LSP protocol, and kind of experimental on ClojureSP side. So imagine we have this request function, and I want to know all the reference hierarchy for this. So I can call LSP 3max call hierarchy, and I have, all right, I have the request, and I can expand it. All right, I have the fetch trained repos and fetch trained developers, and I can expand it until the root, the main. So this is really useful for huge projects where you need to do some kind of refactor and need to know what functions or what namespaces you will change. So this is really useful, and you can navigate to it just hitting enter, and that's it. This is call hierarchy. And a lot of features that are not available via UI, like execute command is something from the LSP. The code actions use that behind under the hood. So, but you can call those manually. So we have on LSP mode, LSP dash closure dash your commands. So cleanS, cycle call, expand let, unwide thread, and a lot of refactors. So you can just binding those functions with your custom key binds, and it should work. All right, that's it. That's Clojure SP. I think I show the most features or the most important ones. So I hope you like it. We have this web page, so you can find it on GitHub. We also have the Clojure in Slack, the LSP channel, and we have a way to support the project. So if you like the project and you like the way it's going on, please supporting it. We have this open collective way to support the project, and that's it.
All right. Thanks a lot. We do have probably just one question from chat. Like, has anyone tried with IntelliJ LSP plugin? Um,
Yeah, I don't know to answer that, but I know we Snow, Case Nelson have tried this before. So you can see here in the client section that there is this IntelliJ Cursive plugin. So IntelliJ has for those who don't know, IntelliJ has the Cursive plugin, but you can install this IntelliJ LSP. That is a plugin that makes IntelliJ LSP client, so you can use it with other languages. This should work since we use the LSP protocol. So if you try it and this doesn't work, let me know.
Yeah.
But it should work.
CLJ Condo also has a LSP jar, but it only gives diagnostics. And some people use this also with IntelliJ, and that works. So maybe this also works correctly.
Good to know. That's good.
we do have also the off-topic question. Somebody's in love with your general OS setup. What is it?
Nice. So I use NixOS. It's a different operational system that it uses the Nix language for managing packages. So every package should be pure. And I have everything on my dot files, so you can check all my configuration. It's based on the Dracula theme, so you can see my polybar. It's using the Dracula theme, my Emacs, and every program I use. This is a really cool. This is a Clojure meetup, but I can show you later. The NixOS is a really cool operational system and functional operational system. So and declarative. So you should try. It's really awesome.
Cool, thanks. And now a more in-topic question. How is it with Clojure LSP on top of Cider? Do they, step on each other's toes a lot, or is it okay-ish?
Yeah, they work really good. There is some king bytes conflict that you should have, but I try to cover that in this tutorial. I can send the link in the chat. But they work really well. So I personally use Clojure SP for most features, for most everything I do. But when I need, for example, to run tests, I really need my REPL. There is no way. So I jack in with Cider and use it. It works. They work really nice. So you can indeed use both together.
Okay.
So a follow-up question then, would maybe inferior Lisp REPL or socket REPL be enough if you have Clojure LSP?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
So now you have Cider, but there's also other REPLs like a socket REPL, a more plain featureless REPL. Would that be enough if you have Clojure LSP?
Yeah, it should work nice too, since Cider is just a Emacs package that uses the REPL and add a lot of plugins and a lot of functions where you can use to work with, but other REPLs should work too. You should just check the configuration about and the shortcuts. I'm not sure if it will conflict, but for example, there is another Emacs package called CLJ Refactor. It's not related totally to the REPL, but it has some conflicts too. So you should take a look, but for other REPLs, it should work fine. We could add some entry in Clojure SP about that. I think it would be really useful for users. It's a common question, maybe a FAQ or something like that.
Yeah, nice. Thanks.
And we have another question from chat. So how to tell Clojure LSP, if you can tell Clojure LSP how to resolve custom macros?
Oh yeah, that's cool. Clojure SP, back in 2020, we had the parser namespace where we parse all the no symbol Clojure symbols, and it was a really hell. So we found some way to fix that using CLJ Condo. So Barkdude helped us a lot using CLJ Condo under the hood. So if you have to configure some custom macro, you don't need to configure that on LSP, on Clojure SP. You need to configure that on CLJ Condo via its configuration, and everything should work on Clojure SP side. Barkdude can explain that better, but it's all CLJ Condo responsibility, so it should work.
Yeah, so maybe to add a little bit, so CLJ Condo has a few ways to make custom macros understandable to the static analysis. And one of them, I think Eric already showed a giant list of lint-as configuration. And there you can say, well, I have a def something macro. So you can say, well, my def something macro is syntactically the same as Clojure core def. So you can say, just treat it like that, and then CLJ Condo will understand it. There are some other configurations, but there is also a third way to write a custom hook, and you can do this in regular Clojure code, and it will then expand the macro node according to your hook. So you can expand it to whatever you want to make it clear to SailJ Condo what it means and how it should behave. And this is not necessarily the macro expansion for your macro, but just a trick to, for example, expand into a def or defen, or so it becomes normal code again for the static analysis.
Yeah, a fun fact is that Clojure SP uses the SailJ Condo analysis features. So most features are built using that analysis. So this really helped us to make the features work based on the SailJ Condo analysis. And so if the analysis is wrong, probably the feature won't work. So that's why if you configure your macro correctly, the analysis will work on SailJ Condo. That should work for Clojure SP too.
All right. Yet a new question from chat. When I use Clojure and LSP in Emacs, spaces are automatically deleted after function call names. Is this a known issue or missing configuration?
Probably not a no issue. Never heard of, but not sure. It could be some conflict with some Emacs packages. So LSP mode has a way to test those things because Emacs has a lot of packages that could have this kind of conflict. So LSP mode has the LSP plain file that you can run. Let me see if I can find. There is a troubleshooting section here. Oh no. Let me try to find it. So let's start playing. Now let me try by the code. So when we have some kind of those kind of issues, we suggest the user to use this file. It's a file with basic packages and LSP mode, so we can make sure that there are not other conflicts. So you can run this file, run your Emacs, point to this file, and we can and try to reproduce the issue. And that's it. I suggest you point that on the chat channel of LSP mode. There is a Discord channel where you can ask for help there. This probably is something related with client side, not server side, but the folks from there could help. And if it's a server side, I can help too.
All right. Is anybody else having any question for Eric?
I'm really impressed with all the work that Eric has been doing, and also Snow. I mean, if you have a bug or something, it's usually fixed within the 2 days or something. It's really impressive what you guys have been doing the last couple of months. So thank you.
Thank you, Barkidu. You really helped us when migrating and using SailJ Condo. So this was really important for us, and thank you.
Cool. Yeah, and we have more appreciation from chat as well. All right. I guess then the only event we had on the agenda for tonight is concluded. So big thank you to Eric for coming during work hours to our meetup and showcasing Clojure LSP, as well as, like Michiel mentioned, the huge amount of work that transpires from the project itself. I'm definitely gonna try to pension my good old CLJR refactoring thingy for a more mature product. So looking forward to destroying my Emacs configurations once again. But that's for a greater good.
I'm actually curious if Calva is now using Clojure LSP by default, or how that's kind of set up. Because I have both CLJ Conjo as well as Calva, and nowadays I'm getting pop-ups that CLJ Conjo is not needed anymore.
Yeah, this was done recently. So when you install Calva, you are already using Clojure SP for every feature, and when you jack in, some features are disabled, and they use the REPL and REPL, CIDR and REPL, something like that. So it's already enabled by default, and we had some work with the Calva maintainers. They really helped Clojure SP to improve, and now I think it's in a good state.
Okay, thanks.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carlo. Thank you, Barkdude, for inviting me. I will post the link for the docs and the Clojurians here, and I will get back to work. So
Absolutely.
yeah, good night for everyone there.
Thanks
Thanks.
for coming.